Hi, and welcome to Completing Cast, the official podcast for Complete in Box video games. And today, in episode 55, we have an episode we've been putting off for quite some time. Because in episode 55, in our 21st game review, we are talking Darksiders 3 with...
Barker!
I knew. You guys are like, what?
I thought you wanted the horseman. Fury!
Yeah. So, Darksiders 3. I like Darksiders 1 a lot.
Yeah.
I was indifferent towards Darksiders 2.
I think you liked it more than I did, but I liked it.
And you played it more than I did.
Well, the problem I had with it was that I liked the completionist part of the first one.
Yeah. And
the second one was a lot of like procedurally generated items, and so therefore it was like more like Diablo, but not as good. So it didn't grab me as much, in that regard. But
so Darksiders 3 has a very interesting history, I guess you could say. So yeah. THQ put out Darksiders 1 and 2, and then they folded, like a lot of game companies nowadays.
Yep.
And each Darksiders game followed one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, so you would look at that by any sane-minded person and say, well, there's going to be four of them. Right. Well, they only made two, and then they went under.
But while they were under, they did re-release those other ones, right?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
So that's how we originally even played them, because they re-released them on PS4.
Correct. Yes.
Like a remaster.
Yes.
So you think this project must have some life, because if they're re-releasing these on PS4, that seems to be that they're making the way for another one. Because why bother? If you're not going to, try to do anything.
Yeah. And so Darksiders 3 was announced very suddenly.
Right.
It was, I think, in, maybe around E3 in 2018. Mm-hmm. And it was announced suddenly, and all of a sudden it had a date. It was, I think when the date was announced, we're talking sometime in the summer, they were, coming out in October or November or whenever it was.
It came out in November. But it was literally, coming out in 3 months.
Yeah,
whoa!
And that's... It was just one of those things where literally it was vaporware for years, where you're like, Darksiders 3. Then all of a sudden it was like, well, it's coming out in 3 months. Now, the question we're going to be sitting here today and reviewing is, was it worth the WEIGHT, Gabe Newell? Was it? It was not.
No. The answer is no.
Spoilers. The answer is no. So but we will explain exactly why in our normal, humorous, amazing fashion. We're two just amazing... funny people. Mm-hmm. We're always on 24/7.
Oh yeah.
Just every second, I might as well be a stand-up comedian on a cruise or something like that. I know. Yeah. That's what I've been told by myself several times. So we grade in 6 different categories. We got story, gameplay, graphics / atmosphere, sound, fun factor, and replayability. We grade out of 10, and we can go by 0.25 increments because this is my show, and that's how everybody should grade. 1 out of 5
Mine
is
goes
not
by
a grade.
0.001 increments.
Yeah, good. So give me a 9.01. These places that give 5 stars and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's not a grade, my friends. That's not a grade. There's one that's perfect and the second one's a B. Get your act together.
Exactly.
Some of us are A- students. Some
of
us
that's okay.
Some of us are C students, and that's fine.
Right.
You can go to college and get C's, and that's fine.
Yep.
I have no experience with that because I got much better.
100%.
Much better all the time. So let's just start out into the story. Now, let us preface this by saying we finished this game in 2018.
Yep.
And it is
we sure did.
It is literally April of 2019, just because we kept putting this off. There were much more fun podcasts to do. I was not looking forward to this.
Well, there was a time where I thought we already did it.
Yes, that's true.
Because I was watching Spenser finish the game while I was having dinner, and I was we were kind of joking about some of the things, and then so in my mind we had already talked about it. So then when we were I was dude, we already did that podcast. Maybe you deleted it or didn't upload it, and you're like, no, we didn't. And I'm we did. So we went back and forth on that for about 6 months.
Yep.
And so now we're ready.
Here we are. We're ready to finally plow this one away. So
we literally played it within the first couple weeks of it being released.
Here's a funny thing.
It could have been cutting edge review.
Here's a funny thing about Darksiders 3. It's actually made by such a small, relatively small company. I forget if it was THQ Nordic or what it's called, THQ Nordic. that literally we at CIB couldn't get it. So literally we had to
I had to order from Amazon.
Literally, then like granted, looking back, I'm glad that we didn't order a bunch of $60 copies for CIB.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Anyway, the story, go ahead.
Yeah, so this follows Fury. So like Darksiders 2 takes place before Darksiders 1. This one takes place parallel with Darksiders 2. So it's before Darksiders 1, which is what's his name? War going to Earth and like trying to, pick up the pieces. And
pick up the pieces.
Yeah. And then Death, the Darksiders 2 is Death, and that's like before War, and you kind of like Death is seeing like the things in motion that lead to the destruction that War like comes upon, because Death is not going to Earth. Death is going all over the place. It's going all these weird planes. And then Fury is on Earth. This is Darksiders 3. So she's actually on Earth. And it's all a mess, and there's all sorts of craziness. So she shows up, and it's pretty like, just like, here's Fury. And then all of a sudden she's immediately tasked with, by those 3 giant heads.
Yeah, the council or whatever. Yeah.
They look like, from Aladdin, they look like the Cave of Wonders.
It's literally the Cave of Wonders.
But there's 3 of them. And they task her with collecting all the 7 deadly sins, which have, like, this, personified, like, monsters associated with them. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm in. This sounds cool. I like that idea.
I will specifically say, I love things with that. I mean, the movie 7 and stuff like that. Right. I love that kind of stuff. And in fact, that's a reason...
Darksiders, they're very full of that. They have the angels and the demon stuff.
Love it.
But there's, like, very specific angel stuff, like the hierarchy of them, the way it's set up, like, an actual like army with
the
like
war of them, like, and all that. It's
with
great.
Like a general and then his his underlings and then the whatever. So like that's cool, and like they did a good job with that in the other ones. And this one there is that aspect to it, and then they throw in this idea of their 7 deadly sins, and each one has like a monster associated with it, which like immediately you're like your brain starts going, oh, what's this one gonna look like? Like what's Wrath gonna look like? What's Sloth gonna look like? And you're like, oh, exciting. And, and then you start playing, and so then you go collecting these sins, and, then in, like, the least surprising twist of all, the, like, watcher that's, like, watching you the whole time, that's, like, attached to you, and it's just, like, whatever. It turns out to be one of the 7 deadly sins.
Almost like Navi in Ocarina of Time, follows you all the time and helps you and stuff.
She gets, like, attached to you throughout this quest, and it's, like... And you're just constantly, like, annoyed by her, and there's, like, this back and forth, like, whatever. Like, this, like, back and forth quips at each other, and it's so annoying. And then it's surprising no one, it's like, oh, remember when you killed Envy, the first sin? Turned out that wasn't. It was just some random monster where now the thing that's been following you is Envy, and the whole point is that, like, she was envious of all the other sins, so she wanted to collect them all and have all the power, and then she wants all the power from the council and all this other stuff. So then you have this final boss battle with her, and it's like she has all the souls of all the other sins or whatever, and then you have to fight her. But then obviously you're still mad at the council because the council has like enslaved your brothers, I guess, because Fury is female and the other 3 are male. But like, so she War and Death have been like, she finds out all this stuff, and then she's like against the council, so she leaves. And then at the very end, you get a sneak peek of the 4th horseman, Strife. One of the humans, like, so when you're on Earth, you're like saving humans, and Ulthane shows up, and you're like constantly sending humans back to him, and it builds this little community. And then you have to, like, as the game ends, after you kill this boss, you like have to go lead these humans to like some sort of salvation. And then, she says something to Ulthane like, hey, if you ever see my brother, help him out. Well, if you remember from Darksiders 1, Ulthane, like, is the guy that helps you and builds you weapons and stuff. So, like, that, it was like a kind of like a prequel little thing. But then at one point, there's this human that you've been talking to throughout the game, and he's like, gets up and he starts like, they get attacked right as you're leaving, and he's like fighting back, and then he like turns around, and it's like your brother Strife, and Strife's mechanic is he has these like dual guns, like. It's like Devil May Cry.
Could be pretty cool
style.
if it's like a well-made Dirge of Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus or
right.
Devil May Cry.
Yeah, so it was definitely like the first game. So you followed these stories. So story-wise, like it was just like a slightly interesting, but like very bad execution because there was this like subplot for the entire time with this Lord of Hollows, this like. Apparently some sort of guy who's not even connected to heaven or hell. He's in this, like, nothing purgatory area, which is, like, kind of a cool idea. Then, of course, nothing really happens. Like, he's there and he's, like, telling you that there's...
You're telling me
like,
nothing happens in purgatory?
Yeah. So he's, like, telling you that there's this, like... That there's these two... that there's this demon that's, like... trying to take advantage of, like, the chaos that's happening and usurp power. And, like, if you read into what he's saying and, like, you realize what he's saying, you can, like, try to find this bad guy. And if you do, there's this, like, secret area in one of the final-ish areas where you could, like, confront this demon who's, like, collecting all the power to take over. Or not. Like, you could just not find him and then the story doesn't change. But if you find him, you can kill him, and you can go back to the dude, and he'll be like, you did it. And then you can kill him if you want, this purgatory guy, or you could not, and there's no difference in story. And you're just like, what? It's just so, like, after the fact, those story bits. So it's just, like, very, stuck on, I guess, to, like, make the game longer. I have no idea, because it didn't really matter. The main story is just you going around collecting all the sins, and then you get double crossed by one of the sins at the very end. So it's like, that's it.
So let me very briefly talk about what I liked about this. So we will be brief.
Yeah.
7 Deadly Sins, awesome. You get to see a lot of. Once again, this is available in all the Darksiders, but you get to see the angels and the demons and stuff fighting. You get to see this like infighting. There's a time. This game is very muddy. Like, again, we played it months ago, but everything's very muddy, like, yes. As you go around, and we'll explain that more in gameplay. But there's this one area where, like, all the, like, the angels are, like, hiding and whatever, and that's pretty cool, Mm-hmm. It's just seeing all the different angels and just, like, the different size is cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the 7 Deadly Sins, and most of them are done pretty well, where you're like, oh, that character, seems like it. Now, just like almost I don't want to say Metal Gear because they usually give more backstory, but there's some bosses in Metal Gear where you'll just like Fat Man in MGS2. Like literally, you just like meet him and he's there, and you fight him and it's done.
Yeah,
that's how this is. But it's
for sure
way less than this one, in which you'll meet Sloth and it'll be like,
Sloth. There's
fight.
like 2 or 3 sins that are relevant, like that have like story. I mean, Envy technically because you fight it at the end, but like really just Wrath. You have a big fight with and multiple fights with. And it might just be Envy and Wrath. Is there even the other 5? Are just
a lot of the other ones, like the guy with the big thing on his back. I think that's Greed. Like you just meet, you go to an area, you meet them, and then you're
right.
Done.
Exactly.
So that's the positives that I like. Here are some of the negatives. Because we don't have all day. Fury is insufferable. Insufferable.
Yeah, she is like quip central. Everything's snark. To a million
So I
degrees.
always make like the jokes that like Marvel movies have like too many quips, but at least it's written by like competent writers that are like sometimes they're like whatever. But like this is like imagine if you're talking to someone and every time you say anything they just have to like quip back at you, but also make it a dig. Yeah. But they're also not very it's not humor, and they're also not very like clever. Like at least like Parker hates the show, but I'm watching Scrubs recently, and like Dr. Cox, the mean guy in there, at least they write him to be smart, and like the stuff he says, you're not just like duh, Right. But imagine if every time you said something to someone, they like turned it back on you, and you're just like stop. And this was the entire game. Like I'll say this. And we'll get to the gameplay then. The only reason I wanted to continue this game, 2 reasons. I wanted to say I beat it, which I did. and I wanted to know the story because it interests me. And it was a grind because every time anything happens, Mrs. Quip show has to be quips all day, and just everything. From the second you start, every single thing has to be like, well, looks like he won't be joining us. Just stuff like that. And you're like, oh my god. Like, you rip someone in half. Oh, stick around. Whatever. And you're just like, dude, please. It's like,
looks like you fell to pieces.
There is a fine line, and the fine line is Dante and Devil May Cry 1 and 3 versus Dante and Devil May Cry 2. And if you haven't played the games, if you have played the games, you know exactly what I mean. And if not, just understand that there's a fine line between making someone like that edgy and quipful and funny and whatever, and just angsty and bad.
Right.
And that's what this is. And that's all I have for story because it so uninterests me. It was so uninteresting.
It was just very bland. Like all of the sins areas, you're just like, I guess I gotta go to this area now. And like,
that's
it.
My big part in gameplay. We'll get to that.
But like, I mean, like story wise, like you're not like, there's no reason, like there's no story for any of the areas. You're just going from thing to thing until the end, and that's it. Like,
and I don't like games like that. I don't play Skyrim or Oblivion or whatever, but even they have a lot of story going on. So here's my score out of 10 for story. I wanted to go lower, but I do like the fact that it has the 7 deadly sins and stuff. We're looking at a 3.5.
Yeah, I would give this a 4 for story. Only because I do like the Darksiders like aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I think that they at least keep in
the line. At least we'll get to that in graphics / atmosphere. At least,
but I just mean like the aesthetic of the story, just like being like that. There's 4 horsemen, and you're learning about their, her relationship with her brothers and stuff. So like that was like somewhat interesting, though she was so annoying.
So heading into gameplay now, I have 2 words for the gameplay of this game, and it'll either make you very happy because you're crazy, or it'll make you very mad because you're cool like me. No, I kid. This is a very divisive series. It is Dark Souls.
Right. Well, that we determined, like, in talking about this, like, Darksiders 1 is like Zelda.
An action-y Legend of Zelda, correct.
Darksiders 2 is like Diablo
/ Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia. Yep. Like, you're running around, but like the gameplay where you're collecting items and it has this end game where you can just keep playing forever.
Definitely Diablo.
It's very Diablo. Yep. And then this is like they wanted to be Dark Souls. Now, so like every enemy is like unnecessarily hard and an unnecessary like damage sponge. Like so it's just constant, like you're constantly fighting, and the bosses just drag on forever.
So there are 2 main and non-defensible flaws with this gameplay, and the one that Parker mentioned is that it's too hard, and the second is, and I'll get into this in more detail, is that everything is so muddied, and you just have no idea what to do, where to go, how to do it. Let me start with the difficulty. I started this game out on normal. I played it out before Parker, I think.
What?
I played it before you?
No,
like I started before you? No, I didn't. Okay.
No, because I only bought the copy and I finished it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I gave it to you.
So, yeah, I played it on normal.
And I was like, you're not going to finish this. We should not do a review of it.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, so I played it on normal, and I literally, and I'm not joking, lost to the first boss, which, by the way, when I say first boss, I mean, you know how a lot of games will, like, start you out in medias res, like, in the middle of the action, and all of a sudden, here's a boss, but it's a quote-unquote boss, and it's like, here's how you teach yourself whatever.
Yeah, there's a tutorial or something.
I lost to that boss, like, literally 5 minutes in the game, probably 10 times. And I was literally like, I can't do this. I was like, I can't do this. I put it down to easy, the easiest mode.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not a Dark Souls Bloodborne, I'm the master of all gaming. I'm decent. Like, I've played and beaten a lot of games. You know, like, I'm just fine. I'm not going to set a world record.
Even if you picked up a Dark Souls game, I feel like you would at least get past the first, like, enemy you encounter, and then you'd be like, oh, this game's too hard, I don't want to play it. But you wouldn't like not get past the first enemy.
So I switched it to easy, and I guarantee this, I still died like 500 times in this game on easy. Like, I literally put it to the easiest mode possible because I was like, I just want to see the story, I just want to do the review. Yeah. And it was a constant drain. In fact, Parker had to fight one of the bosses for me on easy mode because I just couldn't do it. I sat there and I watched a YouTube video of someone doing exactly how it was, and I just couldn't do it. Yeah. And, like I said, I'm never going to say I'm the all-time master of stuff, but I'm like, in terms of general skill of games, I'm like top 50 in the world on Resident Evil 3.
Right.
Like, that's a hard-ass game. I've played a lot of hard games. I'm like, what was I in Silent Hill, like top 100 or something like that?
Yeah.
So, like, I can play games, and this one, I couldn't. It was too hard. It was just too hard. Like, it's not Dark Souls. Be from Software if you're going to be Dark Souls.
Right.
This game, constantly, everything takes too much damage. Everything is too hard. Bosses, normal guys, it was such a drain. Yeah. And the only reason I got through it is I want to see the story, which, of course, at the end I was very disappointed because, by the way, the ending of the game is like 2 seconds long. I never mentioned that.
Yeah, it ends like,
it literally is like 2 seconds long. You're like, at least I'll get a 5-minute ending. It's like when we did Call of Cthulhu, and that was like a 7-second.
This
was shorter.
Very similar.
BT dubs, this was shorter.
Yep.
So, do you want to mention anything more about the difficulty before we go to the second part?
The second part of gameplay?
Yeah, we're not talking about like the muddying and all that.
Yeah, again.
Okay, so in most good games, you have the ability to know where to go. Now, you don't have to, if you want to figure it out on yourself, you can, right? Mm-hmm. That's great. I think a great example of what I'm mentioning is Dead Space. You ever play any of Dead Space?
Right.
You never have to use this. But if you want to, you press a button and it'll show you where to walk to.
Right.
And I think that's ingenious and awesome. You don't ever have to use it.
Right.
And you can say to your friends, I never used it here.
Right.
This game is set... The map is... I don't even know where to begin here.
The problem with it is that if you don't stray from the story path at all, then you're fine. Because you always, when you finish a boss, the door over here will open up, and you go to it, and it basically just connects you to the next part of the game. Always. But if you leave to go back, because they want you to go back and upgrade your items and shit. And if you leave to do that, you will not know where you're supposed to go next, because there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. There's no map. There's no,
There's
nothing.
No map in the game made in 2018. There's no map.
Which, I get it. There doesn't need to be a map for all games, but there does need to be a map if you have to travel around and you need to know where to go next.
And
Mario doesn't have a map in the sense that you're just going from level to level. I get it. But, this needs a map because you're traveling around.
It's a pretty big game, and there are some times I found. Now you're saying it's all quite linear. I didn't find that to be the case.
As long as you are paying attention, that's the other key.
If you
have
get lost,
to be paying
then
attention.
You're done.
Yeah, right. That's the point. Yeah. My point is, you kill a boss. As long as you are looking in the right direction, she will look over. The camera will direct you to something, and then that's the next part. But if you look away look at your phone for a second. And you don't see when she pans over to something like Prince of Persia style. Look at this. If you miss that, you will just have to walk around until you figure it out. There's no rhyme or reason to where you're supposed to go. There's no there is those
Vulgrim
lights. Well, no, I'm saying there's the Vulgrim makes it harder because you have to memorize where all these places are. All the names are just random names.
Yep.
And it'll be where do you want to go? And he'll quick travel you all over the place. But you're I don't know where that is. It's just oh, you're in the Hallows, or you're in the this, or you're in the that.
Sloss area 1, 2, 3. It's you're
so everything has a name.
Common underground.
And you're you're just what does that mean? And they all, but I'll say, the only thing is if you just keep playing very linearly and you just beat a boss and you're paying attention, you will go to the next area always.
Well,
they never have you backtrack. But if for any reason you leave to go do something else, or if you go and that's the problem with this game. The whole point of this game is you keep getting these skills that give you more powers. And then you go, oh, I remember.
Almost like Metroid Prime. You get the bombs, and then you go to the other place.
And then you go, oh, right, I remember that place I could get into now. So you might go, and like, you think the game is going to be rewarding you, right? So you go and you blow up the thing that you now have a bomb, right? And you blow up the thing, and you go into the room, and there's like some cool, like paraphernalia, whatever. You get a weapon or something, and you're like, oh, cool. Well, you better be paying attention to where you were, because you're never going to find it
also,
again.
to continue that, you better damn well remember what parts in the game early on have that inaccessible place. So,
absolutely.
Like, you have to be like, I have a high jump now. What place?
I remember. I needed a high
10
jump.
hours ago had this, and it's not like a Symphony of the Night or a Super Metroid where you can look at a map and be like, I haven't been in that room. Let me check it out. Right? There's nothing.
No, nothing.
And I can, like, I think I asked Parker. I was like, where's the map? I'm missing the map. And he was like, there's literally not a map. And there's not, and it's a huge, like sprawling game. Yeah. And there were times where, because I honestly, like, this game is, like, so hard and so confusing to figure out that I was just following a fact.
And because of the, like, as you said, like, everything's so muddy, like, there's some areas that are just so drab and boring looking. Yeah. They don't even know where you're supposed to even be going or looking at. You're just like, wow, what is this? Like
I said, and especially if you're in an area and you don't find the Vulgrim, like, serpent hole to go to that place,
sucks, yeah.
Then you're screwed, because they'll be like, the fact will be like, well, now you have this, so go back to Hollow's Underground, and you're like, I hope I have the serpent hole. Yep. Oh, I don't. Yep. And it's hard to even put in words how frustrating it is to be like, I want to go explore this thing. I can't, because, and then if you go back, you're like, wait, which is the way to continue?
Exactly.
It's like,
it's just...
a well-made game is like, again, like a symphony where you get this new thing, and then you can easily travel back, and you go whatever. Or, like, it's... The really well-made ones are almost like a God of War, where once you finish some big thing, you, like, kill a big boss, his dying animation will knock a bunch of stuff down, and now you can easily access from point A, where you were way at the beginning, to point B. Yep. That's like a God of War kind of thing, and it's a well-made thing. This did nothing of the sort. No. Like, it would be like, oh, now that door's unlocked. Yeah. But if you don't go in there, you're
but if you weren't paying attention to where that door is, or, like, the game, you know, it wants you to go back and explore those areas that you have these new skills unlocked, but then it immediately punishes you by being like, oh, you'll never find your way back to the quest line. And it's so, like... And then also you have to kind of warp back to, like, the Ulthane character to, like, upgrade your equipment and crap. And, like they tried to have a cool concept with the upgrading the items, where, like, you can pick... Each item, you can upgrade it negatively or positively. Like, there's a light side and dark side to each item, and you can, like, upgrade it on the negative path, and it does different stuff. Like, it's not negative, it's just the dark side or whatever. And so it'll be, like, more mean in some way, and then the light side will be more like health benefits or something. But, like, there's all these cool things that they try to do, but then you're just like, I do not want to warp back to Ulthane, because then I'm not going to figure out where I'm going. And I'm just going to be, like, lost again.
I just can't believe they would make a game this big without a map. It's
crazy to me.
Imagine playing, like, Skyrim. I always bring up Skyrim, but imagine if it didn't have a map. Yeah. And you're just like, you better damn memorize exactly where everything is.
I'm curious if it's something that, like, enough people would complain about that they'd put on, like, after the fact or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, because,
did
like...
it sell enough for enough people to complain is the question.
yeah, exactly. Because, like, apparently, like, there's... Because this is the thing that's weird about this one is that it... I mean, I assume 2 didn't do this, but, this came out concurrently on PC at the same time as it came out on console. Whereas, like, the first one was PS only.
And 360.
Oh, did it come out on 360? Okay. So it came out on console only, and then the second one, I'm pretty sure, at least the first time it was released, was only on console, and then maybe with the remaster they released it on PC. So, but this one came out on PC and PS4 and Xbox at the same time. So, like, it's possible that, like, there might be a mod community that might, like, build it. I don't know, because there is some mods for the game apparently on PC. I don't know why you would put any time or energy into a game this bad.
Let me very quickly talk about the only redeeming thing about the gameplay. I just thought about this. Just like, this is very standard, but they did it decently well. You get different weapons as you go through, and the weapons give you different, base abilities you can do. And I really did like the fact that you could switch between these 4 weapons. Like, one was based on fire and it was slow. Yep. One was based on lightning and it was very quick. And I did like the fact that you could, change it between bad guys. And it is very quick. You just press, the D-pad and it changes. And, sometimes you can use that in terms of a platforming advantage. Like, you can't reach a new area, and then you have to, jump and glide. I think the purple one was glide,
And then there's some. Well, the purple one was the one where you turn to that ball.
That's right.
The electricity one you can kind of float or whatever, with some. But they kind of had a cool concept. And there were some areas that you could do. You could do it multiple different ways depending on which ones you unlocked or whatever. But really, the game was pretty linear in terms of there's only one way to play through it. It's not like you could go and kill the one Sin. It's not like true Zelda 1, where you could literally beat Dungeon 7 and then Dungeon 1 and then Dungeon 4. You have to beat them in the order of the storyline. You can't just randomly go over and beat the other one. They all have, all the Sins have, a step in getting towards them that requires something you would have needed to get in the first one. So, you have to progress the way the game wants you to. So, it's weird that, it lets you go anywhere, but then you reach a point where you're oh, I can't go any further on this path. Oh, I guess I'm in the wrong area. And it's just, so punishing. Because you're oh, I just fought through all this thing to get here.
So, in conclusion with the gameplay, you have a game that's way too hard, way too frustrating, can't figure out where you're going, no map, constantly punishing you for wanting to go back and find new stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on a limb here and say, this isn't the worst game we played for LPs. No. That would be either RE6 or I would honestly say Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
But this has the worst gameplay, because at least Resident Evil 6 gameplay was not that everything else was frustrating, but this is the worst gameplay. I can't promise this is the worst gameplay score I've ever given, because I'm not giving it a 0 or a 1, but I will give it a 2, because I couldn't stand it.
Yeah. I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 3, only because I did like the upgrade system with the weapons, though it was executed poorly and that you were punished for going and doing it. I did like that aspect of it. You had to, in order to, upgrade each weapon, you had to, not only collect a certain amount of the type of soul, but you had to collect this, artifact that, got you to, the final evolution of each weapon. And, I did like it, but the game sucked, so that was, a small consolation, because I was not enjoying the game. So usually if there's upgrade your weapons, that sounds cool, I want to try to do it, and I want to max out all my weapons. And this was just was just such a slog to do it. But I did like the idea, just poor execution.
And I do just want to remind people that 5 is average. So when I say 2 or he says 3, we mean much below average.
Yes.
A random game you pull off the shelf, much below average.
Yes.
Heading to graphics, here's what I remember about the graphics. Boring, bland. There were a couple areas that I kind of remember. There was an undersea fight. It was the one you had to help me with. The undersea fight was kind of cool, but a lot of it... Darksiders 1 and 2 had a lot of really... Darksiders 2, not really. Darksiders 1 had a lot of very interesting, cool areas.
Yeah.
I still specifically remember there was a sandy type area in Darksiders 1 where you had to ride your horse a lot, and there was all the stuff always falling, and it was just, really cool. I remember the very beginning of Darksiders 1 was war-torn New York as all these demons are coming down. Cool. Yeah. Again, that's the makings of a good game. You remember stuff about it. I literally, 4 months later, don't remember anything except for just long hallways that just look the same. Everything looks the same. You keep going until you find a big circular room that
here we go.
That has a boss in it.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I remember about it. The frame rate on the PS4 normal was so ass.
Oh,
it was so bad. Now Parker played on the Pro,
and after we played it, there were multiple patches like that kept coming out after playing, and I think that some of that stuff got fixed. Supposedly, I still don't think so. The other thing that was like, I don't know if this is gameplay or whatever, but I don't know where we mentioned it, but the load times, like because you do die a lot in this game, and not only so the way it works is you respawn at the last serpent hole that you were at, the Vulgrim area or whatever. So that's where you spawn. The last one you were at is the one you spawn at. And if you die, it's like you are at this loading screen for a while. Like, just an infinite amount of time, it seems like. And then it spawns you to, like, the serpent hole, which sometimes is, like, much further back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, basically, there's these serpent holes per area. And, like, if you don't quite get to the next one, you have to start all the way back at the other one with a huge load time. It's just unreal.
Honestly, it was at least 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute each time.
Yeah, which is just, like, ridiculous.
In a game you lose
for
that
PS4,
much, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
And there's not a lot going on. It's not like it's, like, some game where you're like, wow, at least it's beautiful. Like, these load times would make you think that the game was beautiful, and it really wasn't.
And it's not like it's, again, that's another important thing, it's not like it's big open world. It's
like
corridors, which should be very easy to render from place to place.
Yeah, that was just awful.
Yeah, at least when
it looked just like whatever. And the other thing was because there was these weird frame rate issues.
Ugh.
It would make you see a lot of the like shortcomings of the graphics. Like sometimes if like everything's quick moving, you can't tell that it's kind of like crappy like resolution because everything's moving so fast. So you're like, oh wow, this is really cool looking. Whereas this, like, there was constantly a pause or a slowdown or something, and you would like be able to watch like how bad it is. And then once in a while, like, the sound would disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just so buggy and weird.
Maybe it's patched by this point.
Right, yeah, it's possible or whatever.
Sometimes
so some of these gripes.
It would crawl to like 5-10 frames a second, which crazy. I'm not a big, like,
performance
thing, but like, damn. Like, especially in a game where if you mess up one time, you're like, oh, I'm half dead. It's like, that you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just looking at this, I wanted to be a little...
Yeah, like, imagine Dark Souls with these twitchy, frame-perfect executions, and then it's like, oh, sometimes the game doesn't perform perfectly. Like, that game would be unplayable, and that's what happened here as well.
Yeah, so I want to be a little meaner to this, but it wasn't like I've seen... I'm being a little nicer to this just because, like, graphics equal money. That just is what it is. You can make a very fun game with little money, but to make really good non-indie style graphics, you need a lot of money, and I realized that this game had a very tumultuous, like, release and all that stuff, so I'm not being as mean as I want to be. I'm going to say a 4. I would say a little bit higher if it didn't have those crazy, like... I had to restart my PS4 like probably 3 or 4 times because the sound would just stop for like the entire time I played it until I restarted the PS4. So, like I said, I'm looking at a 4 there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3 only because I feel like if they didn't have enough money, they shouldn't have gone and released it on PS4 and Xbox One. It should have just been a PC release.
Yeah.
Which like probably I would have been like, oh dang, that stinks. But like once I played it, I would have understood because I'm like, oh, they couldn't afford it. Like. You don't need to put it out on console as like a big title if you're not going to be able to pull the big title like look. So it's just weird. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 on that.
Heading over to sound, I gotta be completely honest, I don't remember a single thing.
It's awful. I mean, the sound includes the voice acting, and the voice acting is the worst.
That's right.
Because there's this girl snarkily commenting on everything, and it just makes you want to die.
The helper that follows you around is
just
terrible.
This back and forth, like, you know, like, argument that you're supposed to find, like, endearing, because, like, the two characters or whatever, but you just are just groaning the entire time, because they're both just like, well, I don't know about that. It's like, well, maybe
and then
everything
else is very unmemorable. Yeah. I don't remember a single. Not that you're supposed to remember a tune from this, but it wasn't anything like. The music was really. And all the other voice acting was like whatever forgettable. Like the angels and demons you come across, and the like sins that you come across. They're all just like, okay, yeah. I guess. So I don't really have much to say besides that. I'm I'm thinking a 3.5. I mean...
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Yeah.
Just whatever.
So let me drop a 1 bomb on you on the fun factor. I had so little... Okay. Let's take this back, because we're actually doing pretty well on time here. So let's just take this back really quick. Do you know sometimes where you're doing something in your life, and it's something you don't have to do? Like, you have to go to work, or you have to go to your dad's birthday even if you don't want to, right? Like, quote unquote, right? But you have to do it. But there's sometimes you're doing something, and you just look at yourself in the quote unquote mirror, and you go, "What am I doing?" And that's what this entire game was. I was like, "Why am I doing this?" Like, I literally would rather not play like a game. Like, I would literally rather turn off the PS4 and just like be like, "Oh, it's 9 p.m. I'm going to sleep." Like, even though I'm not
tired.
I'll
go to bed.
Like, I literally
the listeners should feel privileged, because this is you. That's the reason that you finish this game.
Yeah,
so that you could do this podcast.
100%.
Because like if we were going to do a podcast, you would just have stopped.
It was 80%. Because you always do this to me just a little bit. It happened with Last Jedi too. It's 80%. I want to do the podcast, and 20%. Well, a mixture of Parker said I can't do it.
I was like, you're not going to finish this game.
Parker said I can't do it, and also me saying, you know what, you can do it. You've done so many things in your life you don't want to do. That you might as well just do this.
Yeah, I was saying that from the first second. I was like, "You're not going to finish this game. It's so bad."
Well, most of the time he's right.
It's so hard.
Sometimes he's wrong. Like he was like, "You're going to hate The Last Jedi," and I loved it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Don't throw stones at me. I actually loved it. I really did. But yeah, most of the time, obviously, we can tell what each other's gonna like. Like the newest game I have him playing, I was like, "You're gonna love it," and he doesn't. I can guarantee he doesn't. Well, that'll be probably 2 reviews from now. Another horror game. Anyway, but yeah, like that. Literally, it was so not fun. It was so not fun. It was so frustrating.
Right.
It was a game where I had to just sit there constantly on a FAQ. Like, and not only a normal fact, because, like, a word fact would not help you at all. Like, one of those games radar facts that they have, like, the screenshots through, I had to do that almost the entire game.
Exactly.
Almost
you needed the pictures, because otherwise...
Say, go right, go left, go up to the hollows. It's like, okay. Like, I had so unbelievably not fun, and it was also, like, in the end of November and early December, so, like, work was, like, crazy and stressful, so it's like, whoa, what am I doing to myself?
Oh, I'm going to play this game.
What am I doing to myself? Like I said, games can be frustrating, yes, absolutely, and, like, you can, like, push yourself to the limit and try to beat your times or do certain things, but, like, at the end of the day, they should be fun. Right. And this
should be fun.
I literally would have, like,
if they're not, I mean, or they should be fun. I mean, but if you're into that kind of like super challenging Dark Souls, like something like a Bullet Hell where it's super challenging but rewarding, there has to be a rewarding aspect to it, though. You know, like Dark Souls, like I don't like playing them, but I love watching people play them or watching YouTube videos because the lore's really interesting, the design's really good, it's beautiful. There's all these things that reward you for putting up with the like negative of like how hard it is. There's nothing rewarding in this game.
I mean, if I just randomly picked this game up, I absolutely would have just turned it down after the first boss. Well. I would have done it on normal and then died 10 times, and then on easy and I would have died twice, and I would have been like, I'm done. Here's another one. Recently, I thought about doing it for a podcast, but Kingdom Come Deliverance. I heard a lot about this game, right? So like I was like, this is like, I love medieval stuff.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that, you know. So I thought I'd try it. I got probably 20 minutes in. You had your first fist fight. And, like, literally, the dialogue box that came up for it was, like, honestly, like, 10 paragraphs long. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it was like 3 paragraphs, press X. Okay, page 2, 3 paragraphs. It was like, sometimes you want to do this with L1 to, like, it's not just L1 block, R2 punch. It's like, so you have to watch the person, and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, it opened up into the main menu, and the main menu had, like just so many icons that it, like, I couldn't stand it. Like, I looked at it, and I literally, like, that day, I borrowed it from CIB. Literally, that day, I had to go out and get something. I just returned it to CIB and was like, I was like, because the first 20 minutes of story and stuff was, like, really interesting. It's like, you're just this guy. It's like, go out and do these errands for me, boy, you know, figure this stuff out, whatever. You're like, cool, these characters are cool. But then it's like, oh, this is going to be the fighting. The whole game is going to be like, also your weapons degrade. Also you have to eat. Also this. And it's like, no. That's like Red Dead. I'm trying to go through Red Dead. And once you get past the first part, which actually I loved and everyone hates because that just is... Because Red Dead 2 starts out very slow. Right. And it's just like you're on a mountain and you have to do all these like things to get you into the game. And people are like, I hate it. And then it opens up and people are like, I love it. And I did the opposite. I went to the part where it's like, you know, you're at your main camp and it's like, hey, now that you're at your camp, you can do 25 things. And I was like, pass. Literally,
how you like these chores?
I cleared that 120 gigs off my PS4 so fast.
Yep.
It was just like, you know, depending on the weather, you'll want to change your clothes. Also, don't forget to eat. Also, sometimes you're going to want to get a haircut and shave your beard. And I was like, oh, no! And then it was like, as you make money, you can donate it to your camp so they can improve and whatever. And I was like, no.
Not
uninstall.
See ya.
And I do understand that, like, it is for some people.
Right.
But Darksiders 3 is for nobody.
Yeah. Nope.
Not a single person. No fun. I'm dropping a 1 bomb on this. I can't drop a 0 because I don't even know if I gave Resident Evil 6 a 0 in fun factor because, I mean, I finished the damn game, right? Like, you know, at least I did something. But like I said, we're talking a 1 there.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2.
So generous.
I'll double your score, but only because I did like the like whatever they're called, like the abilities, and then the how you used some of them was okay, but that's it. Other than that, I hated it.
So let's go to one of the very few, if not the only, and feel free to check back on our reviews to see if I've done this before. One of the few nothing burgers I'm ever going to give for a game. Yeah. And that's replayability. Now, let me explain how I look at replayability. And we're actually, the next game we're going to do, I guarantee both of us are going to give it a 10 in replayability. Right. Yeah. So, let's start.
I forgot that we weren't talking about that game. I forgot we have another one.
Yeah.
What?
So a 10 is I finished it and I instantly started again and I probably played it 2 or 3 times, right? A 5 would be like, you know, yeah, I would. Like, maybe like a couple months down the line. Like, I've done that before for games where you're just like, you know, let's give it a try again. You know, Clock Tower 3. I played it before in the past. It's not a great game, but then I was like, I'll do an LP on it and whatever, and it was fine. Like, a 2 or a 3 is like, I really don't want to, but if a friend comes over and they're like, dude, you gotta show me Darksiders 3, I'll be like, all right, come on, you know, we got whatever, we got a whole Saturday. And a 0 is, it would cause me physical pain. I would rather, like, go out and just, I don't know, do
we for sure are allowed to give 0s, not just 1s, right?
Yeah, 0s.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Good, okay.
It's
what did you give RE6? 0, right?
Probably.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and check it, but
got it.
Like this I would rather do anything. Like, I would rather go to the doctors.
Yeah.
I would rather go grocery
shopping.
I'd
rather play golf.
I literally did golf today. Oh, yeah, you know that. Yeah. I mean, golf fun factor is a 2 out of 10, and the only reason it's a 2 is once in a while you hit a really good shot, and you go,
yes!
Everything's coming up Millhouse. But this has no moments like that. I would rather... we should just... You know, the whole 48 minutes of this should have been, what would you rather do than play Darksiders 3? Like, I would rather, like, if you were, like, in this game room we're sitting with all these X amount of games, if you were like, we gotta pull them all off the shelf and make sure they're all organized, I'd rather do that than play Darksiders 3. Like, if I could have, like, a video playing on in the background and just whatever, like, I would much rather do that.
It's so bad.
I would rather... Yeah, I can't... There's very little, you know, that I would rather do. It's so... It would cause me great pain to think about this after this, to redo it. It was so bad.
I mean, evidenced by the fact that it took us how long to make this podcast. We just kept putting it off.
We had probably 4 or 5 podcasts that we've done in the meantime that were like, oh, that's much more fun.
Yeah, we was like, I'd rather do that.
And let me tell you this as well. How do I put this? Resident Evil 6 was one of the worst games we played, but it was very fun to talk about because it was such a cluster of garbage that you're like, dude, how about that, right?
Yeah.
Like here's couple. There's lots of bad movies that are made, but there's very few. Ghostbusters 2016 and Suicide Squad,
right?
Movies
or The Room or something, you know, where it's like just you and your friends just watching hilarious.
Ghostbusters 2016 and Suicide Squad were bad movies, but I got great enjoyment out of it because everyone who saw it, I could be like, dude, how about that? And they're like, I know, right? It's so bad. But like, there's some movies like straight to Amazon movies or whatever that you're like. They're so bad that they just blend into the wall, and you're like, hey, you remember we watched that movie? Oh, we did? Yeah, that's Darksiders 3. The only fun I'm having talking about it is talking about how I have no fun doing it. Like, there's
the only fun in talking about it is that we know that once we finish this, we'll never have to talk about it ever again.
Yes.
Like, because we haven't done this podcast, we have to keep remembering... Oh, right, Darksiders 3, we have to do that podcast. Like, and then you're reminded the game exists, and then you're reminded that there's a, like, hundreds of dollar special edition version. I have to look up how much that is again, because I was so mad that it's just $400. $400. $399.99 USD for like these statues and the game and a steel box and all this other dumb nonsense for the worst game ever. Imagine paying $400 for this game. I feel so bad for that person. You know that person says it's a good game because you can't. If you spend $400 on a game, you're like, oh, dude, I love that game. Oh, man, dude, nah, man, I love that game. Because, like, there's no way you like that game.
Listen, I'll end this by saying there's much worse indie trash out there.
Oh, yeah.
There are games that might technically be more broken, that might have worse, technically... yeah, I know, right.
This is pretty broken.
Right. But there's games with different parts that might be worse than Darksiders, but as a whole, especially considering how utterly boring and blending into the wall it is, this is one of the worst games on the PS4 generation.
Yeah,
it just is.
Definitely.
It just is. I mean, even keeping in mind trash indie VR stuff, like this is... at least I'm playing with the VR.
At least you're VR.
Yeah, at least I have the VR on at that point. So, that's Darksiders 3. Don't play it. Just if you have to watch a video of it, I guess. I mean,
don't even watch a video of it.
Yeah, maybe if there's a video that just shows you just the cutscenes, like that would be worthy because it'd be funny. But like, there's no reason to watch the gameplay. Don't do it. If you already did it, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry this didn't come out sooner so that you could know not to buy it.
Now, next up on our podcast, we have a couple other topics, but then we're going to go back to game reviews. We have one game that you're going to be pleasantly surprised we both liked. It's going to be a big surprise because no one really likes that game. Just kidding. Everyone loves it. And then we have one game that will probably be in the running for just as bad as Darksiders 3.
Absolutely.
But for a completely different reason that actually is much more fun to talk about.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually looking forward to that
one.
one.
It's called Castlevania 4.
Yikes. And with that... By the way, Castlevania 4 is the best Castlevania.
You have to say. Okay, just to be clear, he was joking. It's the best game of all time. I needed to say something.
Finch messaged me the other day and he was like, do you know Castlevania 4 has a hard mode? I never knew that. There's like, you go into the menu and you like press buttons a certain way and it like loads up a hard mode. So I gotta try that out.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm
gonna be LP in that soon.
It has a hard mode, so we can do Castlevania 4 for the third time. Hey, thank you once again for listening, everyone. We appreciate it, and we will catch you next time.